Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I am Jeff Doss. What's up, guys? Yes, we got each other's shirts on. I have the Shut Up Alex shirt, and he's got the Jeff and Peter shirt on. So check those out at martialartsinternetwork.com. We have all of our shirts coming out. We had a great weekend at the AKA Warrior Cup.
Yep.
And so it was awesome to see everybody out there, meet the insiders, meet everyone that's part of the main gang, and also just hear just how you guys enjoy the show, but also just listen. Everybody has great ideas for who to have on the show, what to do, and so
my gosh, yeah,
it was really cool to just see how intense and how excited everybody was for that. Today we have a great guest as well. We're excited to bring him on as this. I feel like it's going to be a great show. Before we have our sponsors, as you know, we are sponsored by the Virtual Fight Tour, and we got a big one coming up next weekend. VFT grudge match, February 4th, Thomas Wright versus Trey Lazenby.
It's already here.
A lot going on, but also, that's going to be exciting, but the undercard's going to be great. Fighters from down south, North Carolina, Georgia, fighting fighters up in New York as well. So it's going to be a great time. Jesse Ray, like always, has done an amazing job. I know next week we're going to talk even more about that show. So we look forward to that. And also check out the documentary as well. So documentary will start at 5 p.m. and then the fight card will start at 6 p.m.
I'm excited about that. I want to see the documentary big time. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, it was a cool project. So
it's been like 2.5 years now almost that we've been having the Virtual Fight Tour. This is really cool.
It is cool.
But everybody was excited at the tournament this past weekend. Everybody was talking about the Virtual Fight Tour. Everybody kept coming up and talking about the pod. How many people did you have come up and just talk to you just in general about the pod? Just Martial Arts Internet Network?
It was a bunch. Yeah, it's hard to even say. At least 20 to 30. So
it was cool. So I was processing this weekend, or just throughout this week, because I was thinking about it. And I'm like, when we first started it, people were like, I kind of felt like people were like, yeah, you think he's kind of doing that, whatever, Yeah. And then, because, we have opinions, and people were like, I felt like people were like, you shouldn't say that,
Yeah.
And then now it's like the opposite.
It's just become part of our sport.
People so much have just come to where it's like they would just, I think part of it, they just kind of expect us to be there, which, hey, we ain't going nowhere, guys.
That's right.
If you thought this is a fad, you thought wrong. And then, so part of it's that they just kind of expect us to be there. And then the other part is, I think this is kind of something that they do. I remember when I used to be so like addicted to I used to be just addicted to just sports media, right?
Yeah.
And I needed to know every little thing. Whoever was the newest free agent, what was the contract for? I wanted to know all that. I mean, I would always go on like foxsports.com. I mean, you name it, I was on it. This is what that is for our karate addicts, man.
Yeah,
this is what it is, which is really cool. And it's also cool that it's not just like one avenue. Within Martial Arts Internet Network, you got so many, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Another sponsor though, Alex. Another thing we have going up this weekend though, we have the Arctic Challenge put on by the Gorham family. Big tournament this weekend in the Michigan area. So if you haven't checked it out, we're going to be live streaming that on Saturday. So check out the Martial Arts Internet Network for that. And we also got a new sponsor, and that is the Ocean State Grand Nationals. They're coming out March 30th, April 1st. They've already put out their prize money, and it's even more than what it was last year. They had a great event last year, and I'm excited for us to be a part of it and just see it continue to grow as well. So
Arctic Challenge is going to be a big one. I think that's become, it's a regional tournament that's got, high level national competitors that are there. But I think people are starting to come out to it. You don't have to be just in that Michigan area to go to that tournament. I think a lot of people are just moving to that tournament now, which is really cool. You know, and then there's a lot of other tournaments like that. King of New York is like that. North Georgia Open is like that. I think Arctic Challenge is one of those that's on the come up for something like that. So that's really cool. And hey, Ocean State Grand Nationals last year was a big deal. You know, it was like everyone was a champion, it felt like. So we'll talk about that as well. But they definitely didn't shy on, you know, what is their prize money. They were literally putting their money where their mouth was. So a lot of people showed up for that one. This year it's going to be big as well, I'm assuming.
Yep. And I'm excited for us to talk more about that in the next coming weeks as well. So, all right, let's get going to our show here. We have a big one, and we have our guest, Mr. Greg Ruth. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, guys. How are you?
Wait a minute. I don't think we got as big of a welcome and introduction as we should have.
Let's go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome none other than the man, Greg Ruth.
There we go.
That was a little bit more appropriate.
There we go. That's better.
Thank you, Alex.
You're welcome.
So everyone,
you know what? We were just talking before the show started.
Right.
It was so busy the past weekend. We didn't even see each other. Like I just was like, it was like Saturday night. I saw you. I was like, oh, Jeff, I guess I'll see you on Wednesday.
Yeah. Yep.
And Jeff, you and I didn't even really get a chance to talk. So
not until
a little bit. We talked a lot of it Saturday night, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, this happens sometimes when you're at tournaments. But it's great to see you on the show. How are you feeling after this past weekend? I know we're excited about competition starting this year again as well.
Well, I definitely feel very good. I mean, we're definitely, it'll be the 45th Battle of Atlanta this year, and we're definitely looking forward to that. And I can't, we got some exciting things, and we may talk about something exciting that we're going to try this year at the end of the show. But we're very, very excited about this year. If this weekend was any indication, I mean, I'm looking forward to an even bigger event than last year. So it's very exciting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Agreed. So you say this is going to be the 45th Battle of Atlanta?
45th Battle of Atlanta. Yes. I mean, 55th. I'm sorry.
Yeah. 55th. I was going to say, I kind of got the impression that it was more than 45. So it's 55th.
It is. It's 55th. My bad. I'm getting senile in my old age.
So we've talked a lot about the battle over the years of the show. Jeff, I remember, told a story one time when there was a guy in his hometown who he was a brown belt, and he said it was like a huge deal when he found out that Jeff was a martial artist. And he goes, "Hey, have you ever heard of the Battle of Atlanta?" And he's like, "What?" And he goes, "I took third place at the Battle of Atlanta once." Right? It was such a big deal, it being the battle, right? And so the battle is really back to being the battle, right? The battle is always constant for being known for something new and interesting and fun and exciting things happening. Where do we want to go with that? Do we want to go right into battle, or what do we want to do with this, Jeff?
Yeah, I don't know. We got a lot to talk to Mr. Ruth about. And I guess let's go back to just the beginning, because I do think that it has, like you said, the battle's back to where it should be, prominent to most people. It was the most competitive event last year. I would agree. And also one of the, I don't know, just the excitement, this past weekend had that excitement because it's like the beginning of the year. There was so much competition, so many great competitors. And I feel like the battles like that kicks off the summer, right? Is that kind of how you feel, Mr. Ruth?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have, my team at the battle. I mean, it's myself, the promoter, Truth Entertainment, which is basically both my twin sons, and then the entire staff. We work very, very hard all year long, really, to present that great experience to the competitor. And it's true. We've had a lot of comments about how fun it is there, how great the venue is there, how exciting it is. The level of competition is off the charts, especially in the fighting divisions. We're talking youth fighting divisions that had 36 to 40 competitors in them this past year. Men's open weight, of course, with over 60-something competitors. It was just a great event and very excited. And we are looking forward to it being no different this year. you know, our challenge is to, keep that high level of experience up and give everybody this, great experience that they really become used to there at the battle. So we're super excited for it to happen this year.
Yes, sir. So as far as having a tournament, what are some of the things, like, explain to people how far in advance that you start preparing for a big tournament like this? Because I think some people don't really realize, what it takes.
That's a great
Well, I have to
question.
be real honest, Jeff. Toby and I, he's the the executive director of the Babbitt Atlanta and president of Tree 3 Entertainment. We give ourselves about 1 full month of rest in July off. And then when August rolls around, we're already back into, battle mode and preparing and planning and, thinking about things. And then, by the time, November rolls around, we're full blown, preparing. I'm communicating with people to be officials. There's just a lot of planning goes into it behind the scenes that people really don't understand.
Correct.
And I think that planning and assembling a great team together like we have there at the battle is really what's been the main factor in the success we've been able to have these past few years, and to see the growth that we have over the past few years as well. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely. Definitely. And that's what it takes. It's that preparation. And what you guys have done is create a good team, and,
Absolutely.
I know for me, when I put in my tournament, I couldn't have done it without my family. And that's how really that was the core thing. It starts with that family, and then all the different people that you really you touch and reach, from there, if you have schools, if you have just local areas. So, a lot of the people, though, that help aren't even martial artists sometimes,
Exactly.
So what are you going to say, Alex?
Well, when you said like it's going to be new and like you're really excited for what's going to happen this year, what are some things that's going to be different this year? I know you were saying that, you had 60 plus competitors in men's open weight. You expect that to be the same, maybe more, right? I don't know. Have you ever had anybody that much?
Yeah, our goal this year is to, put 75, 80 people in that open weight division. And I think that's not unrealistic. And I don't know why that happens. It's just because I think everybody has gotten to a point where the level of competition that's out there now in point sparring, everybody wants to be a part of, that battle of who can fight through all those people and come out on top, because let's face it, we all realize that we've become a sport where there's multiple champions in multiple divisions, right, going all the way back to Jeff. And you can remember this when there was just very few winners.
Yeah.
I think it's, I don't remember a time. I mean, I had a guy last year come to me and say, Mr. Ruth, I fought 17 times this weekend, and when you fight 17 times and you come out winning, that's when you really feel like you've really accomplished something. And I think that's what I mean by, by the excitement. Anything new we might come up with this year would we'll talk about that just a little bit later. But I think the biggest thing is just creating that excitement around the competition itself. And guys, it's not only fighting. I mean, I know the Babbitt Atlanta has a historic history of being a fighters tournament, but we had some really, really good top-notch weapons and forms competition the past several years. Last year was really, really good. So
yeah. One of the things with that tournament is that excitement. How, and just advice, and just advice to other promoters, like how does that happen? How do you create that?
Well, I think it all starts with your team and the experience that you're able to give to the competitors. I mean, there's no secret. When we first took the battle over, our underbelt divisions were almost non-existent. I mean, to be real honest, it's just over a period of time. And then the 50th Battle of Atlanta, we have over 600 black belts, and then not that many underbelts. But last year, underbelts really exceeded the black belt numbers, which is what
that's
made
where
the battle be as large as it is. And I think you have to really give a lot of thought and a lot of time and effort into planning and preparing. and giving those underbelts that great experience, because I mean, that's the future. If we want our events to grow and we want people to come back and have that same experience again, you've got to give those color belts, a lot of a really good experience. And we spend a lot of time on that, a lot of focus. And I think the Battle of Atlanta is, when you really look at the big picture and you go worldwide and not just the United States, the Battle of Atlanta is a very well-known event, a very prestigious and historic event. And, to come there and say you battled your way, either whether it's fighting or weapons and forms, all the way to the end and come out victorious, that's a lot to be proud of. That's a lot to have. I mean, I talk to people all the time, says, Mr. Ruth, I won the battle one year. That was one of my proudest moments. So I think that building on that and building on the excitement of that is what creates the excitement. But I think for anybody that's doing an event, you have to pay attention to the details, the safety of the competitor being the number one thing you pay attention to.
Yes,
number two, making sure, the spectators can have a good experience. And what I mean by that, be able to see, the people they came there to see. When we're talking color belts, people spend a lot of money, come to the event, and they want to be able to, view what they came there to watch. And so we spend a lot of time on that. And I think that helps create the excitement of an event and helps create that, I don't know, that better experience overall for the competitors. So you have to, as a promoter, give a lot of time and effort to that. And do we make mistakes? Absolutely. We always make mistakes, but learning from those mistakes and trying to make it better the next year is what it's all about. So,
and I think that's the biggest thing that our sport needs right now, or all of our tournaments, is, figuring out the flaws and working on them. So that way it's apparent that the next year you really did something to fix those issues. And I think that's what real customer service is about, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, my retail background helps me with that because, you have to understand that, a martial arts event is no more or no less than just being a retail experience. So, they are our customers and you want to take care of them.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. All right. So let's get into this. How did this whole thing start for you, sir, and this whole sport karate martial arts experience?
Well, I think, Jeff, that's when you and I go back and connect from a long time ago. This all started as Greg being a parent to a son that was, he was pretty good in the day, I guess.
I guess.
Myself as a parent understand what it's like to spend money and travel and, go have a bad experience or go have a great experience. And I think starting out as a parent gave me some insight that maybe some don't have. And then also, as I moved through that process and became great friends with, my good friend and, may he rest in peace, Mr. Ken Eubanks, became a coordinator for the Bluegrass and helped him with that for so many years. It just gave me, I think, the background that you need to be a good promoter. And then, spending some time with some other promoters and some other events and coordinating and working those events. And then when it came time, for Joe Corley to pass the Battle of Atlanta on to somebody he trusted and wanted to carry on the legacy and, of the battle, then I was right there and ready to be able to do that. But I think you have to understand that, throughout this process, everyone wants to win. There's no question about that. Don't do it if you're not there to win.
Right.
But with that said, more importantly, I think you've got to learn from the experience. And, you're going to have good experiences and bad experiences. We experienced that when, we were traveling around and I was a parent and my son was competing. And I'll never forget, Brian, one time, a long time ago, was being interviewed. And the guy that was interviewing him said, "Brian, it seems to me like that you didn't get very many good calls there. And, there might have been some bad calls, there." And my son was, wise enough at the time to look at the guy and say, "Sir, said, I've probably won just as many matches with bad calls as I've lost them. So you have to understand that you're going to have to take the good with the bad, and you're not going to win every single time. But if you learn and you have a good experience, or you try to have a good experience, and Jeff, that's where we connect from years ago with Rob and your mother and everything. The experience is that you build relationships with people,
Yes,
and you
sir.
become friends with your fellow competitors, and it becomes really more about that than it even does the winning and losing.
Correct.
And we all want a good experience. We all want to win, and people are the most upset when they lose, and they're not so upset when they win. So I mean, it's just, you got to take the good with the bad. And I think for me, that entire process of being a parent, then becoming a coordinator, and now a promoter, and taking all those experiences and understanding that that's how you got to build your team. And you want your team to be able to give that great experience. You want your team to understand what your priorities are, what your goals are. So with all that said, I think I might want to think for just a brief moment here that I did a pretty good job with all that. So
Definitely.
anyway.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, sir. I think also I want to go back to the beginning of this, but also in the beginning, what we just pointed out, some of the best promoters I've ever been around were started as parents. In the NBL years, we had a great team, the Birch family, that were awesome parents. They had a great event out in Portland, and they were parents, and they just loved it. And then after a while, when their son got out of it, they stuck with it for as long as they could. And it's we'll get in that too of sticking with it, even though your son's not in it anymore. But also there's a tournament out in Wisconsin, Infinity Nationals, which Jeff Orlowski is a parent and has done a great job with getting that tournament going as well, and helping Mike Welch with that event. So and I'm sure there's others that I'm forgetting, but there's a lot of great parents that have become awesome promoters. Alex, I think
I want to touch base on a little bit on the parents. We're going to talk a lot about the promoter side. So Toby and Brian were martial artists. Brian was one of the most successful and most legendary fighters in the history of the sport.
correct.
Brian started fighting as an adult before he was an adult, but he wasn't just fighting as an adult. He was winning, and winning like pretty like intensely. All right, we'll say it that way. When did you know, not that Brian's going to be good, not that he could do this, or that he could even be a champion? When did you know, or did you ever know that all of us, that there's going to become a time where people talk about him like that?
Well, I really believe I knew that, when he was a youth. I have to, this is maybe Dad's bragging a little bit, but Brian won a NASCA championship, beginning at the age of 11, and won it every year until he became an adult. So I think I knew almost instantly when I saw how he was able just to process things. And was he a great talent? I'm not sure that's true. Was he a very smart fighter? Absolutely, he was great. And then a lot of people don't even understand or realize that Brian was a great weapons competitor and a forms competitor as well.
Yep.
He was one of the best all-around competitors I've ever seen.
There's been many events where he won all 3 grands, weapons, forms, and sparring. So the bottom line is, I think I knew right away he had that mentality that he believed he could win, and he didn't think anybody else could beat him. And I can tell you, as a parent, when you're at an event, you sit there and you watch and you think, oh my goodness, these are some good fighters here today. He's going to have a hard time today. And then back then, you didn't fight because if you were seated, you didn't fight till the last 8 fighters were left. And then he would just walk through the division. And I thought, how did he do that? I mean, and I think it's just confidence. Yeah. And he made this comment in the seminar one time. He said, guys, said, I win 90% of the time with a left-hand reverse punch. Everyone watches film. Everyone knows that I'm going to do it, but no one can stop it because I have the confidence and the timing to do it just right. And I think maybe at that point in time, I realized that, he was a little bit special in that area. And I mean, it's all him. I had nothing to do with it other than sometimes I would, I'd be a little challenging sometimes, say, it's going to be hard today, man. I'm not sure you can win. And that was all the motivation he needed. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
Okay. I want to stay on that for just like one more little tidbit here. So Brian was about as intense as it gets, right? And he is the all-American badass, right? So I just remember feeling like, shit, what would training be like with that, right? But then I remember like, you know what? I got knocked out by BJ Carnahan in training. Could be similar, but I don't know. Maybe Brian's a nicer guy, right? So, but really, like, he just became when I say, like, all right, he is the all-American badass. Like, there's no intimidating him. It doesn't happen. Like, you talked about his confidence, right? What was training like? Like, how did this child be all of a sudden bred into this badassery of what he is?
Well, I have to be honest with you. When we moved in 1990 to Bowling Green, Kentucky, and became part of the Eubank system, there's a lot of great fighters in Ken's school, a lot of great adult fighters. And as you said, at the age of, 14, 15, by the time we moved there, he was fighting in those adult divisions. He was fighting in the school with those adult competitors. And there was no, I'm going to take it easy on you, Brian. They made him fight hard. They made him, they would sweep in and stomp him. And, it was a hardcore situation. I mean, point fighting is point fighting, but dojo fighting is different. I mean, that's where you build your confidence. And I think just the fact that he had a couple of guys in there, the Mark Joneses, the Dennis Chins, and all those guys that were part of that organization, they just made him tough. I mean, they had no mercy on him. And really, in some ways, they couldn't take too much mercy on him because he was so much faster than they were and just as strong. And sometimes at the age of 15, so I think that was good for him. He had a great experience. And then he just has always been a winner and had the will to win. And, he learns from his mistakes. And the one thing that I admire about him the most is that, win or lose, he bowed into the ring respectfully and bowed out of the ring respectfully. Now, he may run back in the hallway after losing and doing something dumb that caused him to lose and throw a holy cow fit that nobody ever sees. But for the most part, he bowed in respectfully and bowed out respectfully. And that was what made me the most proud of him. I mean, he just always showed the true martial art respect in the ring. Now, I will tell you, Alex, and I'm sure you know, if he wanted to have a nice sparring match, he would have a nice sparring match with you. But if he wanted to go hard, he would go hard with you. So he just fought like he fought.
I don't know if I was unfortunate or fortunate or whatever you want to say. He and I never matched up against one another. So I can't say like, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, man. Yeah, it was a pleasure for me growing up watching Brian. And one of the things was cool was you grew up and you saw that, all right, he was awesome at weapons, one of the best weapons and so much success as a junior weapons. And then his traditional forms are awesome. But then when he got to adults, one tournament he would do the American division. The next tournament,
like the American hardstyle division.
He would go back and forth. And you'd be like, well, which division did Brian win this time? And tournament, he'd be winning Japanese and be on stage doing unsu. The next tournament doing a jump split kick and a back tuck. It's like, whoa, what? So, and that was rare at that time too. For that. Now we have competitors doing a little bit of everything, but that wasn't something we saw. You're either a traditional competitor or an open style competitor back then. So it was really cool to see his. So I do believe he did have athletic ability.
Of course.
Yes. Of course. All right. I kind of lost track there. But as far as that process, so what was it like though, as far as when Brian kind of got out of it, right? And how did it become where your other sons really got into it with you putting the tournament on?
Well, I have to be honest, there was a period of time there where it was just me and I was going as a coordinator. And I have to be honest, Jeff, it's just like kids. As an adult, we make friends. And, my career that I was in retail as a store manager, you couldn't have a lot of friends in your business because that's a taboo for a store manager. So my friends became friends, out there in the martial arts world at tournaments. And, we got closer and closer, and the relationships grew, and then when the opportunity came along for the battle, Joe Corley and I had known each other for many years, and I had helped him run the battle and helped him coordinate the battle, and we'd done a lot of things together. But when he presented me with this opportunity, I think I can honestly say I'm just smart enough to know that to be very smart and to be very successful, you need to surround yourself with some of the successful people. So it was a natural thing. Toby, one of the twins, is just super He's very good with organizing. He's very good with all the production side of things that we're doing. And then my other son Tommy is he's a creative guy. He's the guy that's very good with all the media and all the production. His business is, he's really grown his business now in the media business and has a lot of experience with, production and doing commercials and all the things that he does. So it's just a natural thing. And I just think that I looked at it and said, look, for this to be successful, this has got to be a family business. I mean, it can't be just Greg's show. It can't be just this person's show.
Right.
And you start there, and then you start building your business with some of the best people, Eric Rudolph and Ronnie Presley,
those guys don't get enough credit, man.
They were coordinators first at the battle, and then everybody wanted them. So, I'm not going to be selfish and not share them. But I mean, we have a great team, and not only just them, but it goes deeper than that. It goes all the way through the people that run registration. It goes all the way through, the ring coordinators, everything that we do and put on, the people that lay the mats down, that take them up, that help us turn the ballroom, all those things that what makes, an event successful. And they go unnoticed and unappreciated so many times. And it's an incredible job that the team does. And I'm so thankful and really so lucky. And like I said, I've just been smart enough to surround myself with smarter people than me and better and greater people than me. And that's why I think it's driven the success that we've experienced so far. So
that's awesome.
Well, Toby's really excited about the battle, like all the time. Anytime, any conversation I've had with him, it doesn't matter what time of year it is. You might say like, oh yeah, July we take it off. I'm not sure that he does take it off.
Well, I don't know if he ever turned it off, Alex, but he and I both have an agreement that we're going to turn it off during July and go on vacation or do whatever we do. And but by the time August is around, we're asking people for advice. We're asking people for new ideas. And we really actually have a meeting and sit down and say, let's break down what just happened this year. Where did we do good at? Where did we not do so good at? And those are the kind of things that you have to do. And I think the number one thing and what's helped me the most is you just have to just listen.
Yeah. Yes. That is the hardest part, right? Like just
absolutely
zip it and listen. Zip it and listen.
Exactly.
Explain why.
I got in trouble earlier tonight because I wasn't listening to a very important person in my life.
There you go. You'll learn.
Those dots can be put together pretty easy.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I have a good question. We went back to what was one of the, I mean, it probably isn't one thing. You probably learned so many things from this amazing guy, but what was something that you always take away from Ken Eubanks? What was a lesson that you learned from him?
Well, the biggest thing with Ken is everybody that knew Ken liked him because he was a people person.
Yes.
I mean, he would listen. he wanted to do what was best for the competitor. So I think the one takeaway from all the years that I was around Ken and spent with Ken was just the fact that he was the kind of guy that would just listen, and he wanted to give that competitor the best experience that you could give a competitor, whether it would be 6-foot trophies with clocks in them, or whether it would be, you know, going the extra mile and making sure, you know, they got what they needed at the event, or if they had problems in their hotel, he helped them fix it. It didn't matter what it was. For Ken, it was all about the customer and all about, and really, and truthfully, really all about the competitor.
Yeah.
And you know, the experience they got. So I think that was the biggest takeaway that I got from Ken, was just learning how to listen, and just learning how to, you know, when you do listen, react and give that competitor the experience that, well, hey, they're your customer that they pay you for.
Correct. Yeah. There's so many little things that he did that really are big things, you know, like always got a letter in the mail afterwards thanking me for coming to the tournament. That was huge, right?
Right.
I never got that from anybody else. That's super cool.
Yeah. You know, my instructor, he still says that, you know what, he bought a t-shirt there and then he lost it there, and Ken sent him a new one. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. It's just, and he just says, you know, like, I'll never forget that. Like, that was just special to me. Like, you know, just, you know, I asked and he did it, you know, and most people don't say, yeah, okay, we'll see. I can't really do nothing with it. You know, it's like those types of things, you know, they always do. So
I like what Andrew said. Andrew said he still has his clock trophies. I still got my clock trophy. It's like,
mine too,
you know, after a while, when you're like, all right, let me kind of, you know, sift through. Maybe we'll purge some. You don't get rid of the clock trophy.
Yeah, they were definitely a unique situation at the time.
Yes.
What's Richard saying?
Yes, Micah says he loves the battle crew. Great job, and you know, his crew there loves it. And yeah, Richard just says he got 4th place at Bluegrass when he was 11, and Ken remembered what uniform he was wearing. Like, that's just, you know, stuff like that. Ken just
absolutely
just an amazing guy. For many years, my mom would help with the banquet, and so we would come out early and we would stay late, and got to train at the school and stuff before and after many times. So yeah, we were really close with the Eubanks family and everyone, and just wonderful people. And there's so many. Is there a bluegrass story, like a fun bluegrass story? We share
That's
a lot.
exactly what I was thinking.
Yes. Yeah. Is there a fun bluegrass story that maybe people won't believe, or something you won't ever forget?
Yeah, there's probably some that I can't talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, there's a lot of fun bluegrass stories. I mean, everybody that's ever been to the Bluegrass, you know, when it moved down to the Galt House, it was a necessity because of the size of the event had grown so much.
Yes.
But I guess, Jeff, you and I both know that the greatest experiences at the Bluegrass is when you know, back at the hotel with the pool in the center of the hotel. That hotel was a great experience. I mean, and you know, even then it was a time when parents just let their kids roam, and you know, there was no worries about being bad things happening to them or them getting into bad things.
Right.
It was really, you know, just a great experience, you know, back then. And I apologize because I can't remember the name of the hotel, but
yeah, I think it was the Hurstbourne, right?
Hurstbourne, yes. Yeah. It was just a great experience. Yeah. I think those were when some of the best stories, and I can remember, I guess one of the best times was, you know, we were walking out toward the pool, and here's this old gentleman, you know, playing a guitar and picking, and everybody just around listening to him play the guitar. And actually, it was one of the things that I guess inspired, you know, my boys to pick up guitar and start playing. Was that guy played? He didn't have music; he just played by ear. I mean, he was just a fun times, and to see the bus loads come down from Chicago, and you know, those times were times that you'll never forget, because you met people that you never forget, you know, and it was just a fun tournament.
Yeah, definitely.
It really was. So
as far as, like, I remember as a junior, it was the after party at Bluegrass, which is
absolutely.
And, that was something that not too many other tournaments did, but they took it to that whole next level that, they made sure like parents felt safe that their kids were there with good people, great time, having fun. And it was just a great overall atmosphere. And that was at the Hirschberg and also at the Gall House.
Yeah.
Every time, every year was just amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, just I mean, just the arcade room, the pool.
I forgot about the arcade.
Yeah, the arcade there. It was just a great time. Those years were awesome. But when it moved, I was glad because it just got so packed and it got so hot. And my mom was also a vendor at the time too, and so even that was tough. It was like the vendors were like in their own ballroom almost, in their own room, like. And so the Gall House was a nice change and step up. I mean, I love that as well. Going to the Louisville Slugger Museum and different things like that we did, which was a great time. But yeah, I mean, bluegrass was just
Muhammad Ali Museum too.
Yes, yes. And just I feel like so many promoters should have, and if they didn't, could have learned so much from that event,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely that event really taught you how to, promote an event to give a great experience to the competitors.
Right.
And it became an event where all the top competitors, showed up. I mean, even in the adult divisions, there were big numbers of great fighters and great weapons and forms competitors. I've seen some phenomenal experiences, on stage at the Bluegrass. It was very, 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 very popular event. And its
location, as far as where it is in the country, the timing, it was integral. Well, the timing was stolen. Now the timing belongs to the Battle of Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it was perfect.
Yeah, it was. All right, funny thing that happened today, though. All right, so just a memory thing. I went over to my parents to help them put some things up in the attic, and they found my 1995 Atomics Grand Slam jacket from then, right, that we did. Do you remember that, the Grand Slam of martial arts where we did the Battle of Atlanta, Bluegrass, and the Diamonds, and then the big tournament at the Arnold Classic the next year. So that was just funny that, like, they found that. They're like, all right, do you want me to throw it away or whatever? I was like, I'm terrible at keeping things. So I just, give it to me. I'll put it somewhere. But what's surprising, it was in good shape. And I don't know how in the world that thing still even exists, but, but it's funny. Just things like that Ken tried to do for our sport, or just outstanding. So, all right. So Mr. Roof, let's go ahead and share this. And one of the reasons why this is a big deal on our show is because since episode 1 of this, we've been doing this for over 3 years now, sir. And since episode 1, not all we talk about, one of the major things that people talk about and we talk about is Korean forms and how they don't get the respect that they deserve. And we've been putting a big push to do that myself since I kind of started competing. Like I've never really stopped competing, but as far as consistently, again, last year and the end of this year, that's been my goal. It's just to put Korean forms back on the map. And let's share with what we want to do this year at the Battle of Atlanta.
Well, let me do a little background here because, I'm a traditional martial artist, even though, everybody, it's no secret that I have never earned a black belt, but I'm still a traditional martial artist and love traditional forms, all traditional forms.
Yes, sir.
But I want to share, you're right. It's been a really long time since I watched a Korean form win a youth, weapons or a forms division mostly, but it's been a long time. And to understand, I mean, people need to understand, everybody's all about the creative, the musical, the extreme, but to give them a quick history lesson, the people that pioneered that are Korean stylists. I mean, it goes all the way back to John Chung, Charlie Lee, George Chung, all those guys who created the creative divisions.
Even Junri.
To even, John Valera, Carmichael Simon, Marcel Jones, all these guys that Korean stylists that made the musical, creative, and extreme forms really what they are today. So I think, there's a little bit of a lost art there, but I think it's just mostly, not fully understanding really how difficult it is to do a traditional Korean form.
Yes,
it's just as hard and just as complicated as it is to learn, the Japanese forms that are popular today. So at the Bow of Atlanta, you and I had a little conversation a while back, and I felt compelled, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, we need to bring some attention back to the Korean stylist. Let's face it. I mean, guys, be honest. I would say that the number of Korean martial arts schools in the United States probably triple the number of Japanese or Okinawan, schools in the United States. So
yeah,
there's a huge market out there that we're kind of not really paying good attention to, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So, I got with you, Jeff, and we decided we were going to come up with something new and exciting. It's not brand new. People have done them before, but we want to do it and give some attention to it. And we want to have a Korean challenge at the Bow of Atlanta and bring some attention back to the Korean style of martial arts. Whether it's Taekwondo, Tang Soo Do, it doesn't matter.
Right.
We want to give some inspiration to some folks, because gosh, it's sad to hear the stories where these Korean instructors are sending their students away to learn a Japanese form just so they can be competitive,
right,
in a league that has become dominant by those kind of forms. And it's unfortunate. Not real sure why it happened, and that it really don't matter why it happened.
Right.
But my whole goal, my whole hope is that we can bring some excitement back to the Korean stylist and kind of put them back out there again. So.
Yes, sir. And what we had talked about too is giving something for that junior competitor as well. I think that's where it starts. And for me, and again, I go back to one of the reasons why I've always competed both circuits, but when NBL was a thing, that was something they always had. It was a junior Korean division that helped them create awesome adults, right? And now it's kind of like they have to learn a Japanese form, unfortunately. And then by the time they get to adult, they almost have to go back and relearn something they haven't done for 10 years. So, so that's really, really tough. And I think that this challenge can be a good thing. So that way, not only for the sport, but also for the other tournaments in the league, to say, okay, we can do this, and we're going to stick with the divisions that they are, like the traditional challenge. So 13 and under boys, 13 under girls, 14, 17 boys, 14, 17 girls, 18 plus male and 18 plus female. Correct, sir? Am I right?
Absolutely. Okay. Exactly the same.
And that'll be Friday at the Battle of Atlanta, around that same time as those divisions are going, right? Or maybe right after or something.
Well, we'll be doing the Korean challenge first at 11 o'clock, and then we'll start the regular traditional challenge about noon.
Okay, awesome.
There may be some, running over it, because, I want to give everybody the opportunity to do both if they want to, because there's some Korean stylists out there doing some really good Japanese forms.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they can do a great Korean form and also a great Japanese form on the same day.
They definitely can. They definitely
and
can.
Jeff, I want to be clear, this is not anything about being, not being against the Japanese style of competition, because the one thing that I will highly give praise to that Traditional Challenge has done, it's brought a lot of attention back in our sport to a traditional martial arts, and that they can compete. They don't have to be flipping and, spinning and all that to win. A good traditional form can win now, but we just want to bring some spotlight to the fact that a good Korean form can win too.
Exactly.
So that's the whole purpose and the whole goal of it, because we are open martial arts circuit, open to all styles. And I think we need to get back to that a little bit and bring some just spotlight on, good Korean stylist.
Yes, sir. And so when we had talked, and we talked with the coordinating crew of Mr. Rudolph and Mr. Presley, we do want it to be a little different and to be something to get people to watch. So we're going to go with a 3-round system, I believe.
That's exactly right.
So the first round, and then the top 4 move on to the next round. So it'd be a regular scoring system that first round.
Yep.
And then once you get to the 4, we go head to head. So
head to head. Yes, exactly. We'll have
head to head, so we get top 2.
And then the final 2 male 18 plus and the final 2 female 18 plus will be in the finals on Saturday.
Awesome. And as far as for and I know you're probably trying to figure that out as far as prize for adults or for juniors. I just know for those NASCAR competitors, it needs to be something that's going to be, especially the juniors, something that's an opportunity that they feel like they want to be involved in. So I don't know what you have. We haven't really discussed that, but I know that's probably in the works as well.
It is in the works. We haven't completely come up with exactly how we want to handle that and how we want to promote that, and make sure we don't take away from anything else as well. But
yes, sir.
We'll come up with a good deal.
Yes, sir. Oh, I know. You always do. But I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be great. As far as any questions, I believe we talking today. There's not too many. There'll be differences in the rules. Like there will be a KI rule. There will also be, a list that we'll have out soon with those. And, myself and a lot of other Korean martial artists have been talking over these past few months as well. And then I'm kind of taking all those things and presenting it to the coordination staff and you guys as well, so we can make it a good thing for everybody, not just for me, not just for Jeff Tuss. Okay. That's not why we have this division, right? Just so people don't misunderstand that, but for everybody. So.
Yeah, we're really excited to do it, Jeff. I mean, it's a good opportunity to, give some credit to those martial arts stylists. And I got to get real here for a minute. And there's a lot more Korean martial arts stylists than there is anybody else. So
right. Yes, sir. Yeah, we say that all the time, that more than half of the promoters come from Korean styles. More than half of the competitors on the circuit come from that. So,
exactly.
And honestly, with that setup, if you win that, if you make it to the finals, that's huge,
absolutely.
Doing that round system, changing your form, you got to at least, to win it, you got to at least have 2 forms, 2 different forms, which is, some people don't do. And I think that's a great thing, for us to do it. You can get through that. That's a proud thing. You can always say, hey, I won this Korean challenge at the Battle of Atlanta.
Well, I think the other thing that it might do, Jeff, is that, Korean forms are physically more demanding because of the things that they have, the form has you do. If anybody's confused about that, go and watch Jeff's form from the Diamond Nationals in the finals this past year. And then try to replicate that yourselves. I'll wait. I'll hold my breath. Okay. So what I think we're going to see a little bit more of is more kicking in creative and extreme forms. I think we're going to see more standing kicking with this starting to happen, because it used to be throughout, well, obviously in the 80s, we saw that. And in the 90s, it was major. You do combos, tons of combos, and even into the early 2000s. But then all of a sudden we went, wait a minute, we could just spin and jump.
Right.
Don't stand and kick at all. And then it's now, somebody asked me this question, because people ask me all the time, like, hey, what do you think of this kicker? What do you think of this kicker? Because I talk about it all the time. Like, oh, what do you think about this guy? Would you put him on his list? Like, yeah, I'd probably put him on the top list today. Then someone asked me to go, who would be on Jeff's top kicking list today for forms? And I'm like, today? Jeff? I don't know. We're going to need some more guys out here kicking. Come on, guys.
Right. And I think you give an opportunity to these Korean stylists to feel like they're included and wanted in our sport and in our league, then we will be able to see that, because again, they start with the traditional and then they say, oh, all right, that open stuff seems fun. How can I do that? And if they get with the right person that will help them highlight what they're good at and not say, oh, well, you only can do this to win,
Right.
A good coach is someone who takes what they're great at and levels it up even more, right?
Exactly.
That's what makes it right. So I think we get those opportunities with that. It was great to see the big AAU Taekwondo team this past week. They had huge numbers, and a lot of those guys are trying to figure out, because they do have creative weapons and stuff in their championships. They're trying to figure out, how to do that in what we do. So that want and that interest is there. So
yeah,
really
those guys want to come and compete with us. I mean, and they want to be able to be competitive. They're a very competitive group, and we've known them now for 2 or 3 years. Bobby, who is the now vice president of all of AAU, he lives in Atlanta, so he's been over several times to see what we do, and we're excited to have them come. We're excited for them to be excited to want to be a part of our organization. And now, guys, I got to tell you, they got some pretty good fighters.
They do. Yep. And they're wanting to. What's cool about it is that they're taking coaches and people from what we do that know how to do it,
Yep.
and learning from them. Not just saying, well, this is just how we do it and we'll figure it out. No, they want to take people that have experience at it and work at it. So it's really cool. And I think their forms program is going to do the same in the future as well. So
absolutely.
So yeah, so that was a big announcement. That's something that takes on really just our vibe here at Inside Scoop, because we've been talking about it for so long, and this is something we've been pushing and trying to do. So thank you for being one of the first promoters to do it. I know that AmeriKick did it a few years ago, but they haven't done it in a while. So I think it would. I'm excited to see it come back and for everything just to grow. So, but yes, sir. So thank you so much, Mr. Ruth. We are excited this year to see you at all the NASCA events and see you at the Battle of Atlanta. This is going to be a great year, I feel. We started off last week with a huge show. The AKAs, a great production, some of the best competition I've seen in a long time. And it's just that momentum, I feel, is just going to keep going throughout the year.
Absolutely. And let's really hope so, because, most karate schools are reporting a lot of new competitors, a lot of new students, a lot of new hungry people. Let's all of us give them something to be proud of, and a very safe and a very, good platform for them to be able to come out and compete in. And I think we're right now at that crossroads, and how well we promote our events, and how well we run our events, and how much consideration we give to all these newcomers. It's going to be the future growth of sport karate, and I think it's just it's unlimited what can happen in the future.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Well, thank you, sir. You have a great rest of your night.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. We will see you soon. Have a great one.
Sir. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Man, that was an awesome one. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I love this insight, Brian. I love to talk about the Korean Challenge, where the battle has gone, where it's going. It was really exciting. Hey, let's get a chance to recap and talk a little bit about what this past weekend was like.
Yep, we got just a few episodes. I mean, a few minutes to work on that as well.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And like I said, we saw each other for a total of 38 seconds, because
until the night show. Yeah. That was the first.
You were gone, right? In competition. And it was weird, because I'm like, where's he at? I don't see any competition around here. They had you in a whole separate room, I think, right?
So for the finals, I was for the grand championship. So for the grand championship, we did the grand in the empty ballroom, and we were pretty much like a test for the live stream. So that was interesting.
Okay. That's not a bad idea, I suppose, if you're gonna do that.
It makes sense for that production thing. For us traditional forms and weapons competitors, I don't think we liked it too much, but it is what it is, right?
Fighters probably would have really dug it, but they didn't do the fighters.
Yeah, no. Yeah, just because.
So let's do, just a couple of minutes. So, I mean, like we talked about before, competition was great. I mean, they were there in full force. I really feel like one of the only gripes that I got is, come on, you knew this was a bad move. You knew this was going to be a bad move, starting the fighting so late on Friday night.
Yeah, I think
it was going to be bad, and it turned out worse than what you had.
So I know that last year it started out, from what they said, too early because a lot of teams couldn't get there in time, right? And that was
one team didn't get there in time last year.
Right. So I think, from 11 to 6, maybe somewhere in the middle would be better, right?
Well, actually, wait a minute. Pause. No, every team got there last year.
No, ATL didn't, and then
we waited for them.
Yeah, and then they eventually did.
We waited for them, and then they did get there, because I think we were supposed to start at like 11 last year, but we didn't. I think we started at like 2 or 3. All right. That's not what happened this year. We didn't wrap up fighting until, what was it, like midnight, 12:30?
It was 11:30.
11:30?
12:30 our time. Yeah, the last fight ended right at 11:30. Now again, you're looking at over 55 competitors open weight, 30 something in women. So there was a lot of competitors, but I do feel like there's some things that again, some time adjusted. Definitely, yeah. I think 3 p.m. would have been fine to get that going. But again,
I don't want to rag on it too much, but it's because it's one thing. Like, hey, don't do that. But it's like, you kind of already knew that. Like, if there's one thing that we know, don't keep us hostage just sitting in a room like this. Like, it's like the worst. Don't do that. Right?
Yeah, I think
I don't want to rag on it too much, but that was a real thing.
I know one of the main problems was having to change rings a lot because of the stages. So that's something that I know has to be looked at. Getting rid of those stages.
I heard a rumor. Did Rashad break a stage?
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah,
it's gotta feel awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. That was
insane. Literally break the surface in which you walk on.
Yeah, so he so that was, that's just a safety thing. I don't think those stages, I know those stages aren't made for the impact that especially the forms of weapons, like the extreme weapons, do up there. And then even for the fighting, there was no issues with the final stage. The final stage is, it's built up the way it's supposed to be. Great pattern, a great time. But just those daytime stages, it's just, I don't think that's even necessary, really. I just think it's easier to go from one ring to another doing that. I get some people want their division highlighted and the stage, does that for them. But I don't know. I'd say, to me, safety is the most important, though.
So, all right, I want to talk about the fighting for a quick minute here. So the men's fighting divisions, all of them, right? All 8 of them.
Yeah.
They are deep, my friend.
Yeah.
All right. So here's what I'll say. The men's lightweight division, the 140, 149, from talent wise, it's the best division in the world. All right. It's the best division in the world. Somebody's going to lose first round. That the next tournament might win the lightweight overall.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
And so I overheard. So, what is it? Tyson Ray, he won the lightweight division.
Yeah.
And as he's going to do the lightweight grand, and I thought it was going to be him and John Curatolo, but I think Oscar Garcia beat John, and I watched it happen in overtime. And as I watched it happen, I was like, I can't believe this actually happened. Did John Curatolo actually lose a super lightweight division? Does this really happen? Right. Whew. You're supposed to be good. No, just playing, John. You're really good. Right. So, but then someone, as Tyson's lining up to fight for the lightweight grand, someone hears somebody saying, as I'm videotaping it, which that was exhausting, by the way. Shout outs to any other media person ever who's had to videotape all day. I did that. My gosh, that was exhausting, right? and stressful. Try to get the right angle, get out of my way. All right. You zoom in, zoom out. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but I was just stressed because I'm not that good at it. Right. But somebody was saying, they would go, hey, did Tyson get taller? Did Tyson get taller?
Oh, yeah.
He did.
He did.
He did.
Yep.
And now what? Right. So, I mean, he looks like he's 5'11, right? And he's in the 140s. And I don't know why anyone, and I'm not trying to make this a Tyson Ray love fest. I'm just talking about the lightweight division in general. I don't know why anybody would not have their front hand cemented up in front of Tyson ever. All right. Yeah. It is just any time. Like if your hand is just, if it's just out and you step a little close, it's just over. Like he's so quick and he makes it look like he's not moving and he just hits you. And it just gets to the point where it's like, hit me with anything else. Don't hit me. All right.
Yeah.
If you're going to hit me with something, don't hit me with that. Like you got to make a decision. If you can take one move away, take that one away. Cause that it's a guaranteed point every single time he attempts it. Right. So that was great. That was exciting. The only division I didn't watch was the light middleweight division, which Justice Lawrence won. Yeah. I wish I would have got a chance to see more of it because Kevin Walker was in it too. Kevin Walker's on Straight Up now. Yep. That was exciting. That seems appropriate as well. Yep. All right. That's going to be a really exciting
there were several new people on Straight Up
because now Ben Clark is on there. Kevin
Walker. Yep.
Yeah. So now we got Ben Clark, Kevin Walker, Brandon Balu, and the Golden Boy.
And then also the guy from Canada. I can't think of his name.
That's Ben Clark.
No, the other guy, white guy from Canada. That was on the team at the battle.
White guy from Canada. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Well, listen, I don't know his name. All right. He showed up at the battle. He helped him with teams, did an awesome job, and then he got injured, and he got injured at the battle. I can't think of his name.
Oh.
Yeah, but he's
he'll come to us. Or
he's from he's a French Canadian, I believe.
So as it comes on, the middleweight division was exciting. Everybody was good. I got to tell you, it's so deep in talent. I don't think it's ever been this deep, right? I mean, even the heavyweights, right? Some of them, there were some guys, there was one match where two guys were not close to the skill level as everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I'm very glad that they matched up against each other in the first round. Right? And I'm like, good. This is a good experience for both of you guys. Because you could have drawn Avery Plowden first round, and he would have been nice, right? You could have drawn Casey Montgomery. But I don't know if it would have been nice. I don't know Casey that well, So, but here's what I'll say. At the end of the tournament's over. The dust is settled, okay? Warrior Cups are here. Warrior Cups are there. It's all over. And you sit around, you're talking, and I'm talking with my two homeboys, and I was taken back in the moment. And I'm like, this is awesome. I'm sitting right here. I got Joe Boone to the left of me, all right? My homie. And I got Juan Brown to the right of me, my homie. I'm like, this is perfect. Minnesota and Chicago collide. In the middle am I, all right? It's litter, right? Yeah. So we're sitting here talking, and Juan's talking about how he was doing the WKF thing for a while, and Joe's talking about how he's doing. Joe's a kickboxer now, all right? And he's like, it's really just easy, right? This is what he's talking about. He goes, it's really just too easy. And I'm like, well, tell me more about what you're talking about. And he goes, nobody understands spacing. Like when I go, and he goes, I go and I train with guys, like they don't understand spacing. They can't, nobody's seen a slide kick. Right. Nobody can understand the gap. And they always want to stand so close to me. This is where their space is. And he goes, any good point fighter who wants to be trained in kickboxing, you can do it. You can do it. He goes, you can't go the other way around. He goes, you can't be a kickboxer and expect yourself to fight in this world. He goes, this is what he says. And he's got, I believe he's got an undefeated kickboxing record. And he goes, it's so much harder point fighting. It is so much harder. Yeah. You can't, you can take moments off when you're kickboxing. You could take lots of moments off.
Yeah.
You can be exhausted. You can step back. You can lean like this in the middle of clashes. It's like you can't take a moment off. You step just a little bit too close. You put your heels on the ground. It's over. It's over. Right? And I'm watching another fight. I'm watching the heavyweight division. I'm watching Anthony Merrick's and I'm watching Avery Plowden. Right? And people were giving Ant a lot of flack because Ant's put on some pounds. But hey, you know what, Ant? You don't get no slack from me because I put on some pounds. And you know what? The sport martial arts world, they got no shame. If you look a little different, nobody will hesitate to tell you right away. You know how many people came up to me like, man, you double XL now? Is this this t-shirt you're rocking? You're a little fat now. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I go up to Sam Gagnon and I'm like, damn, dude, your arms is buff. And he goes, no, I'm just fat. People just so used to people telling him that. So anyway, so I'm watching Ant and I'm watching Avery. I'm watching them fight. And he's there. He's doing it. And but he's getting picked off just before. And I'm like, I'm watching him and I'm almost like I'm feeling it at the same time. I'm like, shit, you're making the right decision. And it's almost like, and he was so frustrated. He's like, what? Right? But it's just so much harder because he has to be a little bit closer because of the ground that he's able to cover, because the ground that Avery's able to cover increased. The ground that everybody's able to cover increases so much. Holy shit. If our guys just decided, hey, we're going to go do karate combat after a few years into this, they could dominate. Right? As long as they don't run into another guy from Azerbaijan. Right?
right.
I'm not hating on that. That's not a hater moment. Ray's still the GOAT. I don't care what it is. Right? But Katarina Herman winning, that was phenomenal. She's super cool too, by the way. Her and her dad, cool. Right? Yeah. So she came because I had not personally ever met her before. She came up to the booth. I'm hanging at the booth, and she's like, "Hi, I listen to you guys all the time. You and Jeff are awesome." Which shout out if you're listening right now. Way to go! Right?
Yes. Thank you for
listening. Really, this is cool.
Congrats on winning the Warrior Cup. You know,
winning the Warrior Cup, and I don't want to rehash the route because Travis laid it out perfectly on CTE this week. So go listen to that. Yeah. It was ideal. But Jeff, what I want to do, I want to hear your takeaways from the tournament before I rant and spew even more. And then I'd love for you is to give me your men's, because Travis did something that I thought was really awesome that I want to do the same thing. I'm stealing. I don't care. Right. Yeah. I want to hear your men's forms competitor that to really watch out for and your women's forms competitor to watch out for. But I also want to hear your feedback from the weekend.
So, yeah, I know for me on the biggest thing was timing with the tournament. I was running all over the place, being a coach, being, judging at time to time when I was asked to, being a competitor and trying to figure out, and really trying to, not just compete, but like be a high level competitor. Right. Again, doing this at 39, competing in the 18-year-old divisions, you have to get ready a different way. It takes a lot more. Right. So I'm figuring that whole thing out of trying to do all these hats and some things where I just have to learn to say no. Right. And, and honestly, respect to Travis for not asking me to do too much. I wanted to be involved more and help and everything, but he knew, no, dude, like you're coming here to compete. If you have time to do a certain thing, that's fine, but I'm not going to push you,
I took that job for you. I came there basically just
other
for
people might have done that, instead. And so respect to him for not that. I was really focused on, on doing what it took to win and get on stage at the Warrior Cup. I didn't win the traditional grand, but again, won my Korean division. That's one thing of anything was 27 in men's Korean forms, 20 in women's Korean forms. It's huge, right? And the other thing about that is none of the AAU guys actually competed in the men's one. They did more of the single A stuff because they're trying to figure out how it works in NASCA. So imagine if they would have. So that wasn't even just the AAU Taekwondo. That was local area, the Tangsudo area, like everybody, all those groups coming in and competing. So really,
that was what I was going to ask you, is how did that work out? But
it was awesome. I mean, we had to split the division because it was so big, and it was really cool.
Division.
Yeah, that's a new thing they started last year, where they take the top 8 seeded competitors and move them to the next round, and then the top 4 from the first division move on to go against. So then you have 12 people in a division. So that's kind of the way that they're having to do that if you have over 25 competitors.
Wait, run that again. That was very confusing to me.
So the top 8, and sometimes I've seen it as the top 10 rated competitors in NASCA.
Okay.
So they're going to go next round. You run whatever's left. So say 17, you run all of them. And then the top 4 of that move on to the next round to go against the seeded competitors. I don't know if you remember, years ago, Battle of Atlanta did something like this years and years and years ago.
They did, yeah.
Working on that, yeah. So it was kind of like, again, that's a new thing. So yeah, it's a franchise. Yep, you're right, Justin. But yeah, so that was just awesome, and to be able to win that division, and again, continue my streak of winning Korean forms, the men's Korean division. Like literally, I think we looked. I think I've lost once in a NASCA Korean division since 2014.
So people gonna start gunning for you.
Yeah, so that's what I want, man. I want everyone to, and there are people out there that hadn't done Korean forms in like 6-7 years. All right, Andrew Cabalon's doing Korean, Corey's doing Korean, all these guys, man. So
Andrew he and I used to do Korean with each other. I think he would probably beat me, but
so yeah, the Elite 8, that was what they did then.
That is what they called it. Drew is right. That's right.
So really, I thought that was my biggest takeaway from that, was just the rise of the Korean division. As far as everything else, the new competitors in the adult female and adult male that just moved up from juniors, man, it is exciting. You got Esteban Tremblay, you got Ben Jones on the men's side. I'm sure I'm missing a couple other guys. You got in the women's side, there was just a slew of competitors that moved up. Let's see, Anna Beth. You had the girl. There's so many that I'm forgetting.
Right.
But girl from Amerikick. You got girl from Next Level. You got so many competitors that just moved up, and it's wild, man. So it's really exciting to see that in the forms of weapons. As far as the person, you want me to say someone that I thought was the best, and then the person that, yes, Katie McMillan.
Who's your female competitor to watch out for? Who's your male competitor to watch out for?
Watch out for, not the ones that dominated, right? Not the best one.
Yeah, the ones that after this weekend, you're like,
all right. So as far as
we already know the ones who dominated. They won the Warrior
Cup. Esteban Tremblay is definitely, he won the Warrior Cup. So there's that, right? For female, I think you would have to say Gabrielle Dunn, because she won the women's forms, and Haley Glass, of course, always. But for her to really take that next level of being dominant, right? So those are that. As far as the people that are like really like up and coming, that I think are going to step out, it's really difficult to say, because I think Esteban is definitely one of them, but and we're doing adults, right? Yeah, definitely adults. Yeah. God, this is tough, man. Let me go back.
I could do my men. Sit on it.
I'm having a hard time, man.
Well, you ponder. All right. I'm going to talk about the fighters.
I have my women's one. I have my women's one right now.
What's that say?
All right, my women's one, I think, actually is Caitlin Vaughn, because she can do it all, though, too. Like, she had an amazing fight with my teammate Jaden Tuitt. She's making it to stage every tournament since she came back. I think she came back at Capital Classics and has made stage in either Korean, creative forms, creative weapons, musical. So like she's doing it all and winning divisions and making the stage. So I think, you got to give it up to her for that. I'll get back here in the forums because yes, I think of one person, but I also feel like there's somebody else. So
no, that's fine. So for the fighting side, so I think, yeah, Bailey looked as great as Bailey did.
Yep.
But at the Warrior Cup final, Avery got him, right? And I don't want it to look to seem like Bailey's not all that, because he is, But I mean, Avery's not shy about showing you what he looks like without his shirt on. Boy has muscles on top of muscles and has named those muscles, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. But that's actually going to, not his specifically, but just muscles, actually what's going to kind of be in conversation here. So it was definitely Avery's tournament. Bailey might be the fighter of the year at the end of the year. Avery might be the fighter of the year at the end of the year. We don't know yet. It's right now it's Avery, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I would say people to watch out for, Justice Lawrence.
Yep.
If he could, I don't know how.
No, Justice Floyd.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The kicker was on my mind.
Yeah.
That's why I said Justice Lawrence.
Yeah.
No, it's Justice Floyd. Sorry, Justice. All right. But that's kind of a Freudian slip. It's a compliment. It really is, because Justice Lawrence is amazing every leg, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, no, if Justice Floyd, I don't know how he could stay in that light middleweight division. That guy's 19 and a half feet tall, fighting in the 170s. I mean, when he stands next to me, I'm looking up and I'm like, I just watched all the middleweights. What are you doing over here? I'm one light middleweight. And I'm like, ain't nothing light about you. How is this possible? Not saying that. I'm not saying throw the guy in a scale. But if you got a chance to watch him, that leg was up. He was moving. He won the middleweight grand. And you know what? What I liked about it is there's no secret. Yeah, he's going to kick.
Yeah,
he's going to kick a lot. Effing stop it, right? But that goes to the other person that I wanted to talk about, which I'm not kidding you, I was never going to say his name unless somebody else did. And that's Alonzo Payne, right? Yeah. Because he's my guy, right? I was never going to say his name. But this is where the muscle part comes into it. Zoe started as a lightweight in the 140s.
Right.
He fought light heavy, right? Right. And I don't think he's never going down. So guy just keeps putting on muscle, as long as his leg can do what it does. And it is way harder for your leg to do what it does when you are weighing a lot more. So it is challenging. So I'm proud of the wins that he had. He could have got, I don't want to say could have, because he fell to Christian for the light heavyweight division. And Christian is all of that. He is. It was great. But, felt a little bit frustrated because it was like, man, we had this game plan and you let these two things slip it. What are you going to do? But I think the styles that those guys have obviously is a style that I love. But I think those two as ones to watch out for is a big deal. I think for the women's side, I'm going on two opposite ends. I'm going Avery Sutter, all right? I just kind of like her style, right? She is, 3'9", it looks like. But she's just a good, solid fighter. I like the cut of her jib. But then Katarina Herman, she's all of that. She was the fighter of the weekend. Who she beat to win the Warrior Cup, how many times she beat him. I mean, Katarina Herman is all of that. She's the one to watch out for.
She definitely is.
There was someone when the tournament was over who's decided they didn't like something I said in episodes past.
Yeah.
And those things don't really bother me, right? But they were like, how come I wasn't on your type? It was a female. She's like, how come I wasn't on your top kickers list? And I'm like, I don't know. You better then, right? She's like, I should be on your top kickers list right now. And I'm like, well, I don't know, right? You didn't win, I know a great kicker who beat you and just beat the best fighter in the world.
Right.
Right. And they're not on there. So what do you got to say? And I'm not, this fight is really good. Okay. So when they go top 5 female kickers list of all time, I'm like, yeah, you're not on that either. I'm sorry. That's not you. I'm real pissed off. But then I started thinking, like, top 5 female kickers list of all time. Who knows? Katarina Herman might end up there. I don't know. Because her leg was that. But I would say, like, I started going off. Yeah. And listen, guys, I just want to let you know, for anybody who has a disagreement with something that I say an opinion, they say I'm an opinionated guy. I am okay. But I just want you to be careful. Okay. You're not better at me than this. Okay. Some people you might beat me up if you feel like, oh, I'm a better fighter. I'm okay with that. Okay. And some people, they're smarter people than me by a lot. But when it comes to like the verbal sparring, you're not better at me than this. So listen, there's some other people that have gotten my face. Listen, I get having to stand up for your guy. I totally get that. But then when you take it a little too far, like I'm going to start doing, no, you're not. Don't say you're going to start doing something because you're not. Just leave it alone. I get it. You want to stand up for your guy. I get it. You think you don't earn some respect. But when you start going a little too far, I'm going to beat you. Just leave it alone. I won't out you unless you keep going, but just leave it alone. All right? I will absolutely beat you if it starts to go like this. So just let it be. Okay, guys? Everybody else jump on my side.
Oh, God.
I don't know what to tell you.
All righty, then. Well, that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh,
Next week's going to be a fun one as well. Everybody stay tuned. This has been an exciting episode. Jeff, you got anything else left?
Yeah, let me give you my forms, guys. So,
give me your forms, guys. Watch out for.
This is hard because I guess I had a hard time because I felt like most of the people that did really well last year, like kept that going. You know what I mean? So they kept that going, especially in the men's. Besides seeing. Thanks, Dad. Shut up, Alex.
That's amazing. That was the highest selling T-shirt this weekend, by the way.
Well, of course, yeah. So the dang it, what did I forget? Oh, the new guys moving up. Ben Jones is definitely one that I think it's going to be exciting to see. Esteban, of course, those guys are. I think though there's some competitors that were at the cusp, and like they're the ones asking for advice, asking from creative people, asking for and I think that by the end of the year, I think a Will Nevitt is going to be someone who he's because if you watch his creative's awesome.
I didn't see it this weekend, but I've seen it in the past. It gets pretty high.
If you watch his extreme form, like it's creative, it's different than what other people do. You know what I mean? And I think that maybe he's going to be bringing back like the spinning kicks, not just going upside down and spinning. Like doing like
actual spinning kicks and jump spinning kicks.
Yes. So I think Will is going to be someone to do that, and then I also hope that Connor Chastain starts getting some respect as well because that dude is so good with an 18-minute long form. Like I don't know how he doesn't get tired in doing it. So
is this form really that long? I haven't watched it in a while.
It's long. I told him that too. I was like, I think your form's too long, but you're amazing. So
that's cool.
Yes, Cameron Klaus is definitely a great Japanese competitor as well. So all right.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you next week, and shut up, Alex.